Episode 3. God is still busy with Katembe. Thank you for listening to Illuminate, a podcast by Hands at Work in Africa. Each year as we approach Christmas, there's a season of anticipation and preparation for the coming of Jesus. The creator of heaven and earth come to us as a baby so that his creation would be reconciled to him. We call this season Advent. And during Advent, this podcast channel comes to you in the form of Illuminate. This year, we want to share about where we work, the types of communities that we are called to see Jesus bring life where it looks the bleakest. Just as Jesus came to bring life to a broken world, Hands at Work seeks out the most broken places in Africa to bring life to the poorest of the poor and most vulnerable people by way of his church, both internationally and locally. On our website, you can find a video with the same theme which focuses on a community in Zimbabwe called Tsatse. In this podcast series, we will take you to the Democratic Republic of Congo. We will visit 3 communities in the Goma area. George Snyman, a co-founder of Hands at Work, has spent a considerable amount of time there this year. We're about to hear George talking to a group of volunteers in South Africa on October 30th. Let's listen to George discussing the people and places where we work and what God is busy doing there.
So, then we went to Katembe. The chief of this whole area, he had to flee for his life also. But then armies from Kenya and Tanzania, and they started chasing away the rebels. But there were still about 3 or 4 armies there. Many child soldiers, boys, 11, 12, they're walking around with guns, they just shoot. But the chief, I said to him, you take me to Katembe or I go on my own, but we are going now. So he said, okay, let's go. And the chief traveled with me on a motorbike, and Eric, and everywhere the soldiers stopped us, the chief told them, leave these guys. It is people that work with me. So we came through and we went to Katembe, and we were the first people that went into Katembe after the war. So they were locked down in that war for 8 months, bombed, rebels, and then the whole community came to be with us and to walk with us. They were so happy to see that we came. There's Eric walking in the front, yes, Bindu, and then we could do holy home visits again for the first time. It was crazy to do holy home visits that day because we will walk. You know how people can talk when they go through an experience? The first time we went to Katembe, we met a man called Busy Mungu. Busy Mungu really means busy God. Okay? This was a man of peace like you can't believe. And he introduced us to a family, Kenyatta, whose wife just died of malaria the week before we got there. The children were lying on the floor. There was a crippled boy that's never walked. He was 5 years old. It was a terrible family. Busy Mungu took us there, and we started caring for this family. It was an incredible story. The whole village became so excited. But my heart was so broken because somebody poisoned Busy Mungu, and he died. His wife was lying on a grass mat. She was dying of malaria. The children sat around her. They were screaming of hunger. And I'm just thinking, God, where are you? But at one stage, I was so emotional about the situation. I walked away and I stood and I looked right down. It was like very steep down. And there at the bottom, I saw a woman and children sitting there. And it is just like God is saying to me, I brought you here for her. And so after we took Busy Mungu's wife to the clinic, everything, I said to them, come, let's go there. All her children, they fled from the war. They ended up in Katembe. They ran up the mountain and they ended up there. They've got nothing, nobody to care for them, nothing. Today is the day. I am your son. Your problem is my problem. Your kingdom is my kingdom. That's how we should be. That's what it means to be saved, right? This is now my business. It's my Father's business. Now it's my business. I'm not busy with the things of the world anymore. How much can I make? Whose social status? No, my Father's got a business. And so I said, we're going to give her a piece of land and we're going to give him food until she can produce her own harvest. Can you imagine? God saw how broken my heart was for Busy Mungu's family. And then 5 minutes later, here we could bring hope to a family that was hundreds of kilometers away from their village, where everything got destroyed.
Hey everyone, if you're just joining us for the first time, then you're on number 3. And so I definitely encourage you to go back and listen to number 1 and number 2. And then you'll also have the added advantage of knowing who we are. If you are joining us for the first time, my name is Dan. Serve here as part of Hands at Work with my wife and our 4 children, and have the privilege of serving with these 2 people as well. So
yeah, thanks Dan. My name is Sasanda and I serve here with my beautiful wife Brooke.
And my name is Prague Sudans. They call me Prague here. And we are serving together with my husband, Levi. And we have 2 beautiful girls.
it's so good. Sasanda, what stands out to you?
Busy Mungu's name. That God is actively busy doing something across the world. Across Africa, God is busy doing something. And I just love the fact that Busy Mungu represents that. And there's a tragedy in this one, obviously, because like Uncle George mentioned, his life was cut short, which in a sense, that's just the reality of it, eh? But he responded to the work of the Father. He was faithful in responding to that work. It's just an invitation to us to respond to the work that the Father's doing, what he's calling us to. The character of Bizimungu is something that sparked something in my heart for sure.
Just for instance,
When they went to Katembe, and the community was really not functioning. It was just like there's no hope. And they visited this family of Bizimungu, and he died. I'm being reminded of when the disciples were with Jesus and they were in the storm, on the sea, and the storm came with them. And on that moment, they felt hopeless and they felt that they don't know what to do. But they call on Jesus, and the gift came out of that. They acknowledged that this is Jesus, and they experienced the peace that they've never experienced. They experienced a gift that they've never experienced. This story stood out because in the midst of the mourning that they have lost Busy Mungu and the wife, she was busy dying, God showed them something. God shows them, actually, I know you are feeling pain, but there's something that I want you to attend with because I've called you for that family. That's why when he said that your problem is my problem, your kingdom is my kingdom, your business is my business, God's business, when you take it as your business, he will show you. In the midst of the storm, he will bring that gift because you have taken it personal to say, God's business is my business. If he did not have intention in that, God could have not shown him that house that God wanted to visit. How on earth can you find that family? It takes the miracle and it takes God himself to show up. God sees and he knows his children and his God plan. Hearing these stories, it really encouraged my faith. I think for me, it's a miracle.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Pragsky helped me understand that story. We hear it obviously from Baba George's point of view, and imagine it from that woman's point of view, like abandoned, overlooked, bottom of it was like no one's seen her, and she probably even heard the crying from that. And do you know what I mean? That idea of like, if I die, is anyone going to cry for me? Is anyone even going to notice? 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, there's a few people at her shack saying, I see you. Yeah. I just can't imagine how her life is now completely changed because, like you said, because God saw her. And the other thing, I think you said it well, Sasanda, when you said, like, Busy Mungu, God is busy turning despair into moments of joy. And we get an opportunity to be part of that sometimes in our darkest moments. Like Baba George said, just feeling overwhelmed by the pain. And God gives him another opportunity to see God come through, sometimes in in our darkest moments, that's where God chooses to come through. And often we think that that's where God comforts me, but sometimes God comforts us by giving us another purpose. And I'm not talking about making yourself busy, or grieving's good, mourning's good. We need to cry. God's comfort doesn't always look like a rub on the back or everything's going to be okay. God's comfort looks like, I'm not finished here. I'm not finished here. There's another opportunity to see lives transformed. There's another family to care for. God's mourning into dancing isn't the way we picture it. There was a Psalm 30 moment, but it was another family just down that ended up dancing with joy.
What you say about God taking our despair and turning it into moments of hope and joy. It's part of our inheritance as sons. He said, today is the day. I am your son. Your business is my business. Can you imagine if we woke up daily like that, turning the worst situations into the best and being able to sit with those who mourn and just being present? It's all part of our inheritance. It's all, and I mean, our inheritance aren't always, rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes it's sitting in the bottom of the valleys with widows and just meeting Jesus there, to have that conviction saying, Father, your business today, it's my business, and your kingdom is my inheritance. My Father's business today is my business. And I just love that conviction.
And I love the fact that, like, God doesn't need us, but he wants us. But for those of you that don't know, President's husband is called Levi. Well, I call him Ba Levi because that's a respectful way in Bemba. But Levi was telling me yesterday that his daughter trained with him. Now, Levi's very fit and has been doing martial arts all his life. He doesn't need his daughter to train with him. He wants to spend time with her. And in a sense, it feels like, does God need us in whatever role we have to play? No, but he wants us. He invites us to participate in his business. He says, I'm looking for that woman that everyone has overlooked, and I want to use someone. Are you going to be the one that has the privilege to know that moment? Across the world, God is saying, I can use you if you want. You can see people's lives go from mourning to dancing if you're willing to be part of it. I don't need you, but I want you.
So good. That is such a beautiful place for us to end this week. We're so inspired with what God is doing in Katembe. Do join us again next week as we get a more recent update on what is happening in Goma. We will have Uncle George just sharing with us what is taking place on the ground. And so we would love to have you guys join us for that and see how we can continue to pray for the work that is busy doing. Bless you.